Sound check, sound check. Can you hear me now? Because then we're going to start all over again. Let me know if you're good. Let me know if you got my microphone. Anyone? Anyone? Yes. All right, we're going to start over. Next time we'll fire up. I hate this. I hate that my microphone doesn't auto start up with the stream and everything else. I have to load up a separate piece of software. So we're going to back up and start our introduction again. Welcome, everyone, to the first episode of the Everything Kayak Fishing Podcast. I'm your host, JT Hickman. Fishing with Gramps will still be the YouTube channel for just fishing content and maybe some on-the-water rod and reel reviews, things like that. Everything Kayak Fishing is the new channel coming up down the road. I'm not even going to say the near future, but sometime in the future, that will cover all things kayak fishing, kayak reviews, accessories, first looks, how to rig, and all that good stuff. Our own future kayak fishing resource, because guess what? There's really nothing like that out there on the interwebs right now for a source of information for brand new folks trying to get into kayak fishing to learn from. So we'll go through and we'll set up all of our kayak first looks, everything on everything kayak fishing, and become basically the hub, the resource, the source of unbiased information for all things kayak fishing. But that's a project coming up in the future. But this is the first episode of the new podcast that goes along with everything kayak fishing. In tonight's episode, we're doing a recap of the Kayak Adventure Series, Sauk Prairie, Wisconsin, on the Wisconsin River, the Wisconsin Riverfest. Oh my God, what an adventure. And when they say Kayak Adventure Series, this literally was. Folks, I'm going to tell you, the last 4 days that I spent in Wisconsin were the absolute best fishing that I have ever in my 40 some plus years of fishing. This was the best 4 days I've ever had, bar none. Anything I've ever done, absolutely incredible. If only someone had told me fishing up north could be this good. Oh my goodness. What an incredible, I would have been up there years ago. Wisconsin, Minnesota. Go ahead, Gran.
Nobody told you.
Nobody told me how good fishing.
Told you for 30 years, nobody told you.
Nobody told me how good fishing.
For 30 years, no one once said.
I don't know anybody from Minnesota or Wisconsin or anywhere up north who would have warned me that chasing bronze up north. Never once would I have ever heard that. I don't know. Yeah, she's been telling me for 30 years. Yes, I married a Minnesotan who,
man, you haven't been
when
up there.
She dies, once her ashes spread at the headwaters of the Mississippi.
And one of my favorite places on earth.
Yeah, hers too, apparently. In some place I guess we might be going to next year, because guess who is not missing that ever again?
I tried telling those guys that if they think the Susquehanna is good, dude, that place is about to blow their mind.
Dude, everybody I was at with, I think everybody in the top 10 was at the ramp I was at like the whole time. so apparently Mr. Alex Deneau, my happy guide mentor, and the dude I was responsible for shuttling around and putting me on the giants. He put me in a spot. I see you got a young guest back there with you. How's she doing?
This is Hattie. She's my youngest. So
there we go. Hi, Hattie. How are you?
Good.
Good. Yeah.
Just enjoying the weather, eating dinner out on the porch. So
there you go, dude. I mean, this weather is absolutely amazing, dude. I've been telling you for the last, I don't know, been smallie bit for a minute, and we've been talking about it for a while.
Yeah, man.
But never did I.
I know you got that. I don't think you probably haven't got that smile off your face since Saturday, have you?
I can't shut up, dude. I mean, just I want more of that and all of that all the time. I told Alex when I called him on the way home and kind of tell him, give him a recap, and was telling him and everything. He's like, "Well, dude, we can go fish the tippy on Friday," and I was like, "Dude, I'm in." My wife said I go, and then I was like, exhaustion hit me, and I was like, ugh. I got an open house down at American Legacy on Saturday. I'm not going to try pushing it right now, but I was this close to just like sending it and doing it again. But I realized at my age, I've worked hard to be able to do what we just got done doing. And
yeah, dude.
man, what
man.
What an incredible adventure.
How fun was that though? The Kayak Adventure series is pretty awesome, isn't it?
That is the best. That is, I mean, truly, when they say adventure series, I get it now, dude. And that was just the most incredible weekend.
Yeah,
just being in places where you just never know. I can't even fathom what's going to be like when I go through all my video clips and just over and over and over again.
Yeah, dude. I mean, you flat warm out, dude. Like that was awesome to see. I was like talking with Alex, and I was like, yeah, man. He was telling me, he's like, JT was like, he was going up and down that bluff wall and like throwing chatterbait. I was like, dude, good for him, man. I was cussing that water most of the day
oh man,
definitely on Friday.
Yeah.
Saturday I had a better day, but man, I missed a ton of big fish. So yeah, some days you get them, some days you don't. Just kind of how it goes. So.
And I had to smile because part of me in my mind was like, man, if I'd have caught those couple of fish, I'd have been in the top 3. But I feel like everybody, that happens to everybody. So if you miss one, you just got to kind of brush it off and keep going. You can't woulda, coulda, shoulda, because
I know, man.
I think I had my PB on the line more than once, and the fact that in that stretch of, because I only fished 2 hours the first day, 2 hours the second day, because we were kind of running around a little bit and getting the timing of things and testing things out, and then the 4 hours I was like swinging, and then part of me was like, okay, I caught this 19.5 in practice down closer to the lake, so I'm going to put in at my boat ramp and run all the way down to the lake and then just work my way back up.
Yeah.
Funny thing was that cold snap, all that. I couldn't find anything until I got back up to the boat ramp, and then I would go from one bluff wall to the other, and I just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and I was wearing them out. I told you and Jeff and everybody at the seminars, I've been paying attention, watching and listening to what you guys say. And so I was looking for any little current break coming into that bluff wall where it made just like a little pool that was reversing. Yep. And I would just hit them, and it just kept reloading and reloading. And my biggest mistake, and this is what Eric told me, because, he smashed that 21 on the first day. He fully expected me on Saturday morning to stop at that first bluff wall and fish it before I took off downriver, because he was also going downriver. But he did stop and yank the 19.5 out of there. It's probably one of the ones I might have lost on a chatterbait early on. But I mean, that it is what it is. I had a game plan and I was going to stick with it no matter what. And that's what I did. And basically it was fluke and chatterbait and a rat and, sometimes a jig. But dude, I mean, that was just insane.
I was so happy to see you do well, man, because I was like, that dude freaking deserves it, man.
It was
busting your butt trying to learn the river and learn smallies, and yeah, dude, had it all come together. So that's
thinking awesome. I was being all Drew Gregory and leaving my electronics at home, and then I would be like rolling up on a bluff wall, and it's like I might have been smart and bring one graph just to keep in the deeper water.
You probably could have graphed those fish on side scan, I would imagine.
Oh yeah, I mean the couple of dudes that were there, the Vangs, they were scoping, and I mean everybody was using the best stuff. But I was like, you know what? I don't know the river. I don't know what I'm gonna expect. I kind of was a little bit something with the Susquehanna, so I didn't know it'd be the same kind of thing. So it's like, I don't know if I want to bring all of my stuff, because if I'm in that same kind of, but this was a much tamer, even though it was more, faster current, it was a much tamer body of water. Just you had the sand to deal with. So at least having one graph to keep myself off the sandbars. But I just pull it off and get back into deeper water and do it again. But
Yeah,
it's
so
like once
you saw guys were live scoping them then?
the they said they would pull it out every now and then, but they weren't doing a traditional. I think they were more looking just to see if anything was in the area, because there's half the time you don't know if it's a walleye, sauger,
Yeah.
bigger fish, whatever. I think it was more they were using it to scan, but I think most people ended up putting it away and they were just using their graphs to keep out into deeper water, which
Right.
that was one disadvantage I gave myself, because I could be going along a bluff wall and it could be 6 inches of water sitting on sand, or it could be 8 feet of water and it's all rock wall. I didn't know, so I wasn't eliminating that, so I was fishing it all. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
sometimes they'll sit on that shallow stuff though. I mean,
yeah,
it really just
but really not
depends on.
knowing, it just made me throw at everything. But every time I'd find a little indent in that rock wall where the water would kind of swirl back a little bit, I would wear it out with a fluke, a chatterbait, a jig, and until something bit. And it just kept reloading like all 4 days.
Yeah,
It
it
was
probably just made a little like micro eddy. I'm picturing like where that would be at. So
yep.
yeah,
It was
that's
incredible.
Cool. Yeah, that's
But,
awesome, man.
And it was sad. We were sad because Alex had to split for a family emergency, because I think in the team event we might have been wreaking some havoc,
Yeah,
man.
dude. Because if you were catching him, he was gonna eventually.
Oh, dude, yeah. He stacked them up in practice. His first long float, he had 89 or so inches or whatever. And I'm like, if I can hold up my end, we're gonna be in great shape. But that's the way it goes sometime. But
hey, I wouldn't have came home with the trophy if that's the case. Yeah.
It was, but it was such a cool adventure, man. Tell everybody kind of what you and Jeff were doing, because you teamed up, and I knew you had your inflatables out there. And I mean, I saw you with a giant and pre-fishing, Mr. Don't stick them during practice, but
yeah, no joke. We went out. I mean, I've been on the Wisconsin River, but it's like 3 hours north of where we were at, and it looks nothing like what we encountered. Like you saw where Christine and Jordan were fishing earlier in the week. They were like up where I like to go, and there's like rock. I mean, it's like big chunk rock everywhere, and it's a lot of current. And I knew from maps that this is sandy, so I was like, really, I don't know how many river miles we had that were in bounds, but it was quite a bit. Like it was a lot of water, and you can't really break down an entire river that big. Just like the Susky, it's like you're never gonna like break all of it down. You kind of like need to pick out an area where you're like, okay, I like how this looks. Let me go piddle around here and kind of see what it looks like. And we picked a section that had a lot of primary islands, which is what I wanted, more like, islands with trees and stuff on them than sandbars. So I found a section in the middle like that, and we did get it on a really good pattern. Like we were both torching them in practice, and basically like finding little banks where they had. You heard me coin the term tickling grass, but the grass is kind of growing over the edge and had a little bit of depth, and then there'd be some kind of scrub bushes, and we were just going basically like I have this prototype swim bait. I'm gonna have to send you one
oh yeah,
so you can check it out. But I was using that. I caught a bunch of fish in practice, 7-inch jerk shad, and a little palmetto bug that Z-Man makes. We were pitching that in those little crevices, and yeah, man, I mean, I actually switched over. I didn't really talk about this at all, but it was like we had 3 hours left in the tournament, and I was like, I'm gonna throw mag draft for a little bit, and dude, that was 100% the pattern where I was at, because the last 3 hours I counted over 30. I landed over 30 fish, and I was only hooking up on half of them.
yeah.
So they were all over that thing. The big fish, I couldn't get hooks in it, man. It was like one of those things. Every fish over 18 would eat it, spit it. I set the hook into thin air, so I could only hook the 16s, and I had one 18.5. So, but yeah, it was fun, man. I mean, shoot, dude, get a chance to fish with a legend like Jeff Little and learn from him and see how he does things and hang out with him, dude. I mean, I had an absolute ball at that place. So
Yeah.
it
I
was
mean, it was
fun, dude.
the cool thing was it was so laid back. I mean, everybody was talking to everybody. It's like when we started out, even at registration and whatnot, everybody hanging out and just, talking and telling stories. And, I was sitting there
Oh yeah.
talking smack to Creek Fishing Adventures about how he's going to take his Dink Master title. And I go through all of that and catch one 8-inch fish. I couldn't. The one time I'm trying to find little, or because it always happens. It's natural. And of course, I signed up for a Dink Master tournament and I can't get more than one that qualify to put on the Dink list. Not that I'm complaining, because I was blessed with giants. It seemed like all the time. But
yeah, I think you ended up on the right end of that.
Yeah, I did. I mean, catching a 19.5 to tie my PB on the first, 18.5 on the first practice day. The second practice day, catching a tying 19.5 to tie my PB, and then to catch another 19.5 that was like millimeters. I just could not get it to 75 to break the PB. I mean, I was like, come on, dude, just relax. I just want to take your picture. Oh, he wouldn't go there. But I mean, dude, it just drives me even more to just keep. I understand.
Get a little taste of that drug, dude. They just give you a little
bro.
sample of it. That's
it's in the veins. I am stuck. Oh my goodness. It's just I want more and more of it too. But I'm telling you. But I mean, I get it. I mean, I truly do. I mean, I can see how, so much of what you guys do. And Alex has talked about trips that you guys are taking north and this and that. And I was like, I completely understand that now. I mean, it's like I've spent so much of my life chasing that elusive 10-pound largemouth bass, but I mean, I don't care anymore.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's river smallmouth is just one of those things. I think once you get a little taste of it, dude, it's just like, this is so much fun. It is a freaking blast. I mean, largemouth is fun too. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I've caught a lot of largemouth in my day.
Yep.
And if I lived in Texas or Florida, I'd probably be doing that. But we don't have really great fishing at all here. So
we're like the average Joes,
very much so. Yeah, I know. So, but yeah, man. I mean, great. I'm really proud of you for doing that. That was really brought a smile to my face to see you up there on stage. So I would almost rather you do well than me. So that was definitely cool to see, dude. So.
I appreciate it, dude. And the funny thing is, the hunt. I keep telling you, I want that shirt. I want that sticker. I'm on the quest for a 20. And now I've got the bug even more because I can just keep getting.
You're gonna get it, dude. You're gonna get it, and maybe we'll get on the jet this fall, and I'll introduce you to some secret waters. So.
Oh, dude, I'll leave all the cameras at home. We'll just go have fun. That is for damn sure.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, dude, if you want a 20, I'll get you 20, man. We'll take you on my winter spot. So.
I mean, honestly, I'm having fun. It's like for me, it's like I'm 14 again, learning to fish all over because it's just a different little, a little thing. Cooler Lid's talking about how they jump and fight and everything, and that clip that I gave Drew with that 19.5, where this fish was jumping back behind my boat, and I can't tell you how many bleeps that I had to bleep while I was fighting that fish just to have a clean edit for him to play on the big screen. It was insane. But I mean, it was absolutely phenomenal. And then the video that I'm going to put together with me catching one on the rat that will then coincide with the drone footage that Drew got is going to be a really cool clip too, because they came around the corner right after I caught that rat fish. And I was talking a little smack about one of my fellow competitors as I was starting at the beginning of a bluff wall. He would run back over to that one point and kind of get over there and fish it a little more before I got up to it. And I was like, well, I'll just show him. I'll catch one down here. And like one cast later, skadoosh, 1875 on the rat. And it was like, It was
That's pretty
incredible.
cool,
But I mean,
dude. I saw that on the drone. That was awesome.
that was I mean, that was awesome too. And I knew catching that one is like, man, if I can just get rid of this 15, because I think I was in 4th at that time, and then they shut the leaderboards off. And I was desperately running back and forth, hoping to get one more to reload and get rid of a 15. But I can't complain. I knew if I finished in the top 10 for me, that
Oh
was
yeah, dude.
incredible. And
Yeah, I
for
mean
me to
yeah.
smash them in the first 4-hour session, I was like, oh, smack! I'm on them right now. So I got to do this again. To
Dude,
come
there
out
was
with
a
a
lot of
limit.
hammers there. There was that tournament. There was more guys that could really fish, way more than the last one that I was at. So
Yeah.
I mean, they had the Wisconsin State Championship going on. So
Oh yeah.
I mean,
And
all
they were
those guys,
like I
those
said.
local guys there. I mean,
I
yeah.
think 7 or 8 of the top 10 were right there at the ramp with me too. I
Yeah.
knew I was, when I went back home for the full day session, when I saw Christine's truck drive by, I was like, well, I know I'm in the right area to what. And I texted Alex, and he's like, yeah, she's down here with me. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, she smashed them too. She
Yeah.
was like probably a couple hours of more fishing away from winning it. So.
Oh, dude, yeah. When I kind of sent her a message, I was like, yeah, thanks for catching that 20 to pass me and then leave just to break my heart,
Yeah, she had to do it. Hey man, I
But
gotta hop
cool.
off here, but
Yes,
dude,
sir.
it was great talking with you again. Congrats to you for doing that, and man, look forward to many more smallie tournaments with you in them. So
yes, sir. We'll get together and we'll get out on the water this fall. I look forward to it.
sounds good, JT. Take it easy, brother.
All right, brother. Take care.
See ya.
All right, everybody. Josh Chrenko. I knew he had a little bit of time to hop in tonight, and I wanted to talk about, but he and Jeff Little took 3rd in the team. And it was even cool too, because they both gave presentations at the Bass University seminar, and really good topics that kind of help out a lot. Christine gave a great presentation, as did Drew. And it's really cool. I don't know if they take those and put them up on Bass U later, which I hope they would, because it was pretty good juice. Drew was talking about the top water 7-inch, Z-Man shads that he likes to use, and he burns it over the top of the water with a double frog hook for great hookups. And it was really cool. And Jeff went through what he calls the progression of aggression when it comes to chatterbait fishing. And that is something that I kind of am familiar with myself. I never coined that term, but me being a chatterbait guy, I knew once I could get them biting a chatterbait, and I figured out the right one, because I would lose them on a full-size jackhammer. But when I downsized to the Mini Max and it started to be fire, I went through like almost a whole package of my 6 cents juggle minnows, and then I ended up, when I ran out of those, I ended up switching over to the Z-Man 4-inch jerk shads to pair up, 2 really good Z-Man products, and just wore them out. I had like 3 or 4 of those pre-rigged, because you will lose baits with the muskie and the pike and whatever else is in those waters. I mean, my rod, and I'll get to the video of this, but my rod would bend, and then my line would just come flying right back at me. And that's them toothy critters, taking your bait and laughing at you and leaving you hanging. You just grab another one and tie it on and keep going, because you know where they are. There's going to be smallies around as well. But I took somebody asked me where my Loomis rods were, and I was like, I want to prove, and I keep saying it to anybody who listens, that I trust the Monster Bass Lunker sticks as much as the line of Dobbins Champion XP. And I put my money where my mouth is, literally, and cashed a check. I took 5 Lunker sticks, and I took 3 bait casting and 2 spinning, and smoked every one of those fish on those rods. And I've kind of made those like my river series, pairing them up with a bunch of Lew's reels to make a great combo, but a great affordable combo as well. Okay, I won't say the Lew's Hypermag is the most affordable reel out there, but with Gramps 10 and American Legacy, you can take 10% off. But even their KBD, reels perfectly match up with those monster bass lunker sticks. But I left the fancy stuff at home, and like I told people, I left my electronics home. Now, I will expand on something a little bit, and um, I kind of took some comments that I'd seen here and there on the internet's personal, especially after going to the KBFNC and being exhausted and not doing well, and then going to the Susky, and I'll say I wasn't confident enough to fish below the dam, down there in the current. And so I fished above the dam where I felt a little more confident, safe, if you will. I didn't want to get down there not having experienced really fast current in the rivers before. I fished rivers. The one that's down here by my house is a slower flowing current because we have a dam, and then below the dam there's not enough water to really get it fast going. But I don't have a lot of river experience in faster current, so I wasn't real confident in myself or my abilities. Really didn't want to flip my kayak and lose a lot of gear and stuff like that too. But it also seems like the and I hate even talking about this, but I'm going to tell you why I'm bringing it up. But it was like, others, some were questioning my, my ability to fish tournaments because I don't really take them serious, or am I just saying that because I suck at fishing tournaments? So the last time we went live, a month ago, I talked about why I fish tournaments even though I suck. Now, I'll be honest, I know I don't suck at bass fishing. I haven't put forth the effort that I used to years ago when it would mentally drain me. And I was trying to be there on the same level Jeremy was, while also holding down a very hard, technically, mentally straining brain job. So I was never really free to fish and study and pay attention to everything. I would just get in the back of Jeremy's boat and go fish. Or I would hop in the back of my buddy Mike's boat and just go fish. Let them do the thinking about where we need to be, and I just throw the baits. But that also leaves me never really doing well in any of the kayak tournaments I fish in. But like I said, I never really cared. I've been more about being there, being around the people, enjoying the experience of just going. But after I got back from the Susquehanna, a couple of things came to my mind. One, I limited myself because I was afraid to trust myself. I actually said afraid instead of lacking confidence. I was afraid to trust myself down in that current and be down there where the big dogs were down there catching the fish where I knew I needed to be. But instead, I chose to fish with a friend above the dam where we found some fish. Just happens to be that, it rained, it clouded up the water, and our bite completely changed. And then, of course, the current down below the Susky was a lot worse. So, we both caught a couple of fish each, but we enjoyed the adventure of being there. But then I would still see some comments poking through here and there about my lack of how I perform at, these big tournaments. Well, it's not like we sucked at Knucklehead. I mean, shit, we led the whole day and ended up losing it at the end, but we caught the fish we needed to catch. And I figured if anybody had any doubts that were just, haters wanting to hate, okay, we kind of proved that we knew what we were doing. I mean, I think I had the second biggest fish on my team, so I was like, okay, that'll shut him up a bit. No, it didn't. So I told Jeremy about a month and a half ago, I was like, you know what, dude? I'm gonna stop making videos for a little bit. I'm gonna edit the two that we've shot for Monster Bass, and then I'm gonna do some live streams. But I said we've got a few tournaments coming up in September, and I'm gonna focus. And I did. Then we went to Boggs. I took a top 5 in a Kayak event with a bunch of hammers from our state. I turned around the next weekend, took a derb win in a grubby event on arguably one of the biggest bass fisheries in the state. But there are dudes who smash them. And I took the W in that. And then I go to Wisconsin, leave all my electronics at home, and just go fish. And I figured them out. And I put the focus in it. And that's why I wasn't posting a lot at night. Normally, you guys will see me. I'll go live and do a recap of the day. I went home and went to bed. I put my batteries on charge. I rigged my stuff for the next day. I did some more map study, and I went to bed. No social media, no extracurriculars. Told my wife, love you. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for telling me to bring my ass up here more often than I never did. But I put in the work and the time, the effort, and I rested, and I made sure that I was not tired the next day because I knew I would have to drag my kayak over sandbars and other crap. And boy, that rocks and riffle is one thing. Sandbars, that stuff will suck you down. But I focused and I stayed mentally tuned from lines in until lines out. Sure, I posted some stuff, here and there, but I felt I had something to prove. And I don't know if 3 performances in a row isn't good enough. Haters, hate away, baby. Thanks for the motivation. I'm going to go back to fishing and having fun. I'm going to go back to editing videos. I had a great time. I loved meeting everybody. We got to meet there. And I loved smashing the living shit out of them. Because I ask a lot of people a lot of questions. And I do that because I'm paying attention and learning. I'm seeing what the trending patterns are. I'm going to let y'all in a little secret. Jeremy and I have done this for years, and we do it a lot on West Boggs. You play dumb like you don't know anything. People love talking and sharing information with you. I'm sorry, bro. But, boaters, for the most part, think guys in kayaks are just out there playing around. Or they're willing to talk because you're sharing information with them. They'll share it with you because you're not a boater. You're not their competition. You share something. You share a passion for the fish. They don't see you as a threat. So they'll share stuff with you, and you be sure to share things back because they're going to catch their fish. You're going to catch your fish. If you're exchanging information with each other, that's how you all get better. Now, kayak community does that a whole lot better and more than boaters do. If you know boaters, tight-lipped, don't say shit, don't say nothing, they keep their secrets. But kayakers don't do that. We share our information and whatnot, but there is a difference. But also, if you ask questions and listen, let them tell you. Forever, Bobby spends so much time smallmouth fishing, and I ask him, hey, when you're doing this and you're doing that, what's the little thing? And, he'll say, watch for this. And Bobby, you probably ain't watching this right now, but if you were, I remember one of the first trips we ever took on the White River where you talked about current, shade, and maybe structure or something like that. And, that's what you look for. That and the Berkeley, little trooper. Jeremy and Bobby have been yelling at me about throwing that damn little thing when nothing else bites. Tie on a Ned rig, tie on a little Ned head, and put a little trooper on it. Because I didn't listen to them again for fishing a whole White River tournament a couple weeks ago until after lines out. They were like, dude, tie this stupid thing on and throw it. And probably forecast in, wasn't it, Jeremy? Wasn't it, probably forecast later, I caught that 17.5-inch smallie. Now, the funny thing is I had that rigged and ready to go and threw it quite a bit along with a little finesse jig. But learn and listen. I mean, if you got guys around you that have been doing stuff for a long time and, they got techniques or things, they notice this and that and rock and whatnot. John Gittner put me onto the juvie crawl, Merlin Hammer, another hammer, appropriately named, put me on to the little baby X Zone tubes. I haven't caught anything on them yet, but I know I'm gonna because I love throwing a tube, especially stupid tube, right? But I didn't throw a lot of that this weekend because once I knew it was a shad and or white bass bite, it was a white swim jig. Yes, I took a swim jig till a muskie bit it off, 2 of them. It was a swim jig. It was a spinnerbait, white chatterbait. But for me, it was a mini max. They wanted the smaller profile, things like that. And then once I knew what they wanted, smaller flukes, that's what I would flip. If I was coming along any bank where I was trying to get back into the chunk rock, under overhangs, I would skip a fluke in there and just let it fall. If the current, like especially on Saturday, was going and I needed it to kind of fall and stay put a little longer, I put a little penny nail in it. I went to Walmart and bought a little box of penny nails because I lost my paddle too. So I had to go get a little $14 Ozark Trails or to keep on my kayak, which I'm actually going to keep on my kayak. I'm going to buy another Bending Branches paddle in case I get stranded and have to paddle back somewhere, and that'll stay stored inside the Bonafide. But that little paddle was really nice. Chris Curtis says he has a question. Yes, sir. Go ahead. I will read it out for the folks that are listening to the podcast later once we see it come across the screen. But yeah, I'll be happy to take any questions to share anything that I know. And if not, I'm sure somebody in this chat who's far more smarter than I am, far more smarter. I have a master's degree, and I literally just said far more starter. Liz, there you go. You got what you was looking for. Oh my goodness. We will wait for Chris to put his question in the chat, and we'll see what he's got, and then we'll see what the chat has to say. But really, I mean, honestly though, I would throw that. Have you tried the parish jail? I just want to know. I do not know what that means. If I think of parish jail, did I try in the jury? Was I out of jail? What parish? You have to explain your question to me because I don't understand what it is. This is a bait or something. I'm very narrow when it comes to baits. I don't play with a bunch of different JDM stuff. I'm very much Lou, Strike King, Z-Man, Berkeley, basic. I don't throw big swim baits. Even though a lot of people were, I actually took it through a 6-inch trace for a while, trying to entice that bigger bite. And I even threw a rat. I threw a rat on a whim. Jeremy had bought a 4-pack of rats back at the boat show. And before I left, he said, bro, I just watched that video with Christine Fisher. You need to go watch it. She was throwing a wake baiting rat, and I gave you one. Make sure you take it with you. And so on the final day with a few hours to go, with the bite was just really dying down, I was like, well, I've got nothing to lose. I can't get them to bite anything else. I tied this rat on, and magic ensued. But there'll be a video clip or two coming out around that. Oh my goodness. Trevor wants to know, how was the whole experience of the Kayak Adventure Series? Looking at the videos and the pictures, I'm really looking for a destination next year. Bro, 100%. And I know the next one, and it's going to be a long drive for a lot of people. It's going to be up in northern Minnesota. And that's a good haul for a lot of people. But St. Cloud, up near, I guess, the headwaters of the Mississippi, it's funny. Everyone I talked to at the ramp, either before we launched or after we were all getting off and packing up, and I'm talking about dudes who live in northern Wisconsin and all over Minnesota who make their bread and butter kayak fishing for smallmouth. They were like, bro, 3-4 hours north of here, this river, there's no sand. The sand is not there. It's all rock and beautiful bald eagles everywhere. And they say the fishing, you catch 150 fish a day. I mean, they're talking 120, 150 fish a day. I couldn't imagine being wore out like that. If I was catching 30, 40 fish a day, it would wear you out fast. Miss Cairo popped in the chat, working at the county fair. Stop by to say hi. Miss Cairo, we love you. We miss you. Look forward to see you again soon in the future at some point in time. But glad you got to pop in and say hi. But Trevor, oh, dude, the whole premise of it is really cool because they have trophies for the youth angler. They had, team trophies for the top 3, and they had big trophies out to the top 5, and then medallions for the top 10. It was really cool, and they had a big bass bling belt. So, man, if you get the fish of your life, you get that. But they had all kinds. They had the micro bag, which, if you want to be the king or queen of the dinks, it's not easy. I mean, John was throwing like little micro tiny baits on a little finesse, and I said I was going to take a spinning rod with my loose finesse rod back here, and I didn't. And honestly, after day one, when I caught that, when I caught an 18 plus or something. Oh Lord. I wasn't even thinking about their micro bag. I was like, if I happen to catch one, I will put it on the board. And I put one on there and it was over 10 inches and I got rejected because it was too big. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. It has to be small. You only put one finger on it if you put a finger at all. But I mean, these fish are just built different. I mean, I can't wait. And I'm actually going to do this. I normally, if I'm shooting videos when I go to an event, whatever I put out on the channel is in order of when it happened. And to be honest, I have the next one in queue is when I went to the White River to practice before the Susquehanna, then my trip to the Susquehanna, then back to the White River to practice uh before this trip, just to practice, and then this trip. I don't know that I can make you guys wait that long to edit this video. I'm going to stay off the water for the next 2 weeks as we prepare for Gunnersville. Even though I wanted to go fish this weekend, I was going to go up to Tippy and fish with Alex, and we were going to go chase smallies up in northern Indiana in quest of a 20. But since I have an open house at American Legacy Fishing this weekend on Saturday, if anybody's in the Midwest near Evansville, Indiana, stop in. I will be there in the middle of the day on Saturday, this Saturday, with cards and stickers and giveaways and things like that. So if you see me, come say hi if you're anywhere nearby. And, if not, I get it. They're going to have a whole bunch of different sales going on and all that too. But I'm telling you, next July, I think it's the first weekend in July, the Kayak Adventure Series event in Minnesota, I am going to be at. I'm probably going to bring my son with me, my brother with me, maybe another son if he can get off of work. That is going to be one of those trips that's going to be the trip of a lifetime. If you're going to do any one thing all next year, and I'm not gonna make sure you understand me. I can't say the classic because I pick up my new trailer at the classic because it's going to be the display over the kayak bass fishing national championship, over Knucklehead, over any other event. If I can only go to the classic and do one other thing, it will be going to the Minnesota headwaters to fish for smallies up there over any other event. Knucklehead, all of it. I am not kidding. I will be there smashing those smallies. Pro Design, Mike Iaconelli Gilly. So let me see. I don't know what. I know the gilly, but I have not. I don't really throw like gilly style baits or blue. I throw crankbaits. I've played with like the gilly. I've played with like the 6 Sense panorama or whatever they call it. Ike Gilly bait. Let's see what it looks like. The Berkeley. I see the G Crack, which we're all familiar with. I see the Power Bait Gilly, Mega Bass Dark Sleeper, and we've seen a lot of those. Is there? So you're talking about the Power Bait Gilly that maybe Mike Iaconelli had a hand to do. Have I thrown that yet? No, I have seen Christine Fisher throw it, if that's the one that you're talking about. And she has got some videos out on how she rigs it to get it to fish like straight. If I remember, there's like a weight they put like in the chest of it and they rig it maybe sideways and it keeps it from rolling or whatever. But I haven't fished with the gilly. Jeremy might have. I think I bought something and then gave him to Jeremy, but I don't know if he's kind of perfected that yet or not. But hopefully that's what if that's what your question is, then yeah, I maybe played with a little bit, but not much. I'm not one for. The weird thing is I'm not one for like lifelike baits that are imitating something. I don't know why that is. I'll throw a Hellraiser, even though that doesn't relate to anything in the water. Okay, yeah, Chris said that's what he's talking about. So if anybody in the chat has had experience with the Berkeley Gilly, throw that in there for Chris and give him your feedback with it. I know I didn't have it long enough to play with it, and I know Jeremy was kind of playing with it because he's got time to actually analyze. And Yeah, Brian says I should bring up the special bait that that we used on the Susquehanna. Oh, you want me to show that here, dude? I think it's actually still in the kayak. Let me see. Or did I have one sitting on my desk? All my stuff is still. Okay, Brian's wanting to share the juice. I don't think I have them in the house. I think I have not unloaded my truck for the from the trip yet. It's all my gear is still in the back. Let me look one more time. Let's see if there was one. Ouch. Sharp hooks. All the hooks. No. Here's the Great Lakes Finesse. I think it's called the Juvie Crawl. It reminds me, I met a young man who is the Suburban Angler on YouTube, Nick, and he finished in 8th right behind me. He was also there fishing the. Let me tell you about the house I stayed in. I tell you what, if I was going to go meet a bunch of new people and not travel with Jeremy and everybody else, the house that I stayed in this weekend was absolutely fantastic. Now, Nick, the suburban angler from Chicago Airland area, it fishes creeks and all that, and is a smallie hammer. And he finished, I think, a 1/4 inch behind me. I mean, the finish line was absolutely insane. But he's another one who really talks up the juvie crawl, along with our good friend John Gittner from Great Lakes Finesse, I think it is. And I actually caught some fish on this there as well, and I was kind of keeping quiet about this one till we got back to the house, and Nick is like, "That's one of my bread and butters." But I mean, it was truly incredible. And then I actually took some white. Once I knew that, once I knew that swim jigs could be in play, I threw what I had until they all got bit off, and then I was literally down to throwing the chatterbaits. And I actually had to go into a tackle shop and buy some more mini maxes. Those toothy critters take a lot. I understand. I would want to own a bait shop up there because all the toothy critters, they kept stealing all the stuff, and they would pull it, and you would just have nothing but empty line. I don't know how Jermaine does it if he's got to deal with all those all the time, because yeah, those little sons of guns are. And I think I caught 2 walleye, so now I have PB walleyes. They were like 17 inches. But yeah, that was kind of cool. And I think I had a pike on. It was either a pike or a muskie. I think it was a pike. It was juvenile pike. It was only about like 2 feet long. I had it on, and then by the time I was like, "Oh, I need to get that in the net so I can take a picture," he bit my line, and yeah, he went back down into the water. But it was cool catching those kind of critters. Then I caught some white bass. Once I saw the white bass, I was like, chatterbait for the rest of the time. 3-second time. Sorry for those of you watching along. I've got whenever the seasons change, my nose, throat, and sinuses wreak havoc. But let me tell you and I'll come back to Brian's request to talk about the bait. Well, let me do that real fast. Fresh baits. Open up the web browser, and then I'll show you the one that Brian put me on to. Let's see. StreamYard share. For those of you listening along, I'm sorry, I'll describe it as soon as I get the page up for those that are watching along. Share screen. So I am opening up the page for the Fresh Baits, BAITZ. They're Hellamite. This thing on a Ned rig was smoking them. Now, if you would picture a standard Helgramite bait and then like a French fry tail that then comes up after the ridges from the French fry. If you think of the French fry bait that's got the ribs in it, and then the point that comes out like a tail, it almost looks like a stinger, right? But these things for me and Brian, when we were at the Susquehanna, I mean, man, they were something else, and he had a limited supply of them. But when we couldn't get bit by anything else, these little Hellamites from Fresh Baits were absolutely the ticket, and I am going to order some more of those. They're soft plastic, so they're not, they're not like durable like the Hellgramites that I think Nico makes and stuff like that. But I mean, these little things when nothing else would bite. When that water got stained on day 2 at the Susquehanna, this is what Brian was able to catch his fish on. And I think he even caught some in the muddier side that we were fishing on, just kind of poking around. But that black and blue actually got them biting too. So check out the Fresh Baits. Their Hellamite is actually really good. And yeah, it was really cool. Um man, so yeah, that's the juice that Brian was talking about. And what was it Jermaine was saying? We'll not throw 110s in lakes with the toothy critters. Yeah, I understand that here. But yeah, the yeah, and David Raleigh actually brings up a good point. Those Hellamites look like a wingless dragonfly, and that may have been the ticket why they were so hot up there at the time. How long are they? They were probably like 2.5, maybe 3 inches tall. They're I don't know how big that is on the interwebs, but about 2.5, 3 inches tall, maybe is what I'm guessing. But really, really effective. So I mean, I think you can imitate a dragonfly. I mean, I could see running maybe a few strands of jig skirt through there and kind of giving that dragonfly presentation. Or if you're trying to, if you're trying to imitate a Helgramite, you have that option as well. So I mean, it could look like a couple of different things, but when nothing else wanted to work, Brian was really smashing them and catching fish on them. But yeah. So now I got to go back and bounce back and talk about the house of characters that I was in. It was really, really awesome. And I'm going to go through everybody one at a time. And one of the guys that came over to visit was Nick from, like I said, the Serious Nick from the Suburban Angler YouTube channel. And the kid is and I call everybody kid, me. If they're around my kid's age, I call him a kid. He's a young guy who fishes in all the rivers and creeks around the suburban areas of Chicago. And a great cat. I love talking with him. Actually having serious focused smallmouth. I mean, the young man has studied and is a hammer. And I think I don't know where he finished in the state championship that was going on, but I think after the first day he was in second place. So we're good on him. I'll have to go look and find their leaderboards and see where he finished at. And then his buddy that he was traveling with, we're going to call him Chicago Tim. Tim from Chicago, Army veteran. I think he said he was an artilleryman, served for 10 some years or multiple deployments. But Tim from Chicago, Tim's face should be on any highway that leads into Chicago as being the guy that welcomes everyone to Chicago, because there is no more Chicago type guy than Tim from Chicago. Tim was absolutely fabulous. And you know why? His mom, bless her heart, was cooking. She made him the cabbage rolls, the pierogies, the mashed potato pierogies, the sauerkraut pierogies. Tim, I hope you watch this later because, bro, I love your everything Chicago. He brought the sausages, and I knew I was going to love Tim because I'm going to play you guys this. I'm going to play you guys this because he left us these voicemail messages in the house prior to getting there. He couldn't get there till just the day before or two before because he was warning us to be ready to have full bellies because he was going to bring the goods when he came from Chicago. Let me.
All right, boys, little update out here from Chicago. We got the sausages, the hot links, the Polish sausages and all that good stuff. Friday night, I'm gonna go Polish. We're eating a Polish feast. Saturday night, we're gonna go opposite. We're gonna go Italian. I'm cooking an Italian feast. So strap your slim fitting, stretchable pants on, boys, because we are going to town when I get into town.
Now, if that doesn't set the tone for Chicago Tim before he got there, I don't know what will. He was absolutely incredible. And he's a hammer, too. I think he finished 10th overall. Nick finished 8th. No, he finished 7th. He was right behind me. So, I mean, in our house, we had 3 of the top 10, which is really cool. And those 2 were there for the championship that was also going on at the same time. But, oh, my God, Tim was absolutely fantastic. Like I said, the most positive, loving, just loves people, loves fishing, loves food. And he was absolutely incredible. Then we had Cole, who was there, young guy, young angler. He's done a lot of the Kayak Adventure series. And dude is dude's a young, well, he studies. You could tell he is a young up and comer, and just loves everything fishing. And he and I would go back and forth. I mean, it was awesome. Just, some of the discussion over live scope, over some of the bass rules, over what fish do here, fish there. Just great, open, honest conversations. And it was really fun because you can have varying opinions on different things. And it's great because you respect each other enough to be like, I can see that. I can see that. And it was just awesome. So Cole was really wonderful. He was also at our boat ramp. He was swinging for the fences on day 2 to try to move up. So I mean, it's just one of those things. Sometimes you do, and it pays off, and sometimes it doesn't. But he learned what we always say: don't leave fish to find fish. He was on decently quality fish, but he was actually hunting for bigger fish and probably spent a little too much time in it. But it's like I told him, I said, every one of these you go to, you should come back with various lessons and learn from them. I said, dude, I went to Susquehanna and just got smoked, for not being confident in myself in the waters below. And, I said, I'm not going to ever do that again. I didn't lose 70 pounds and gain the ability to drag my kayak through ripples and whatnot to chicken out and stay in place safe. But I mean, it kind of ate me on the way home. And so I was like, whatever this water is going to be like this time, I'm going to deal with it. Sure. Am I going to take my most expensive rods? No. That way, if I did dump my kayak, I wasn't out, my highest end stuff. But I also wanted to prove that you don't have to have the highest end stuff to go catch fish. If you're fishing on a budget, I wanted to show that and I keep saying it, and I've said it before. The Monster Bass Lunker sticks are legit. You're every bit of sensitivity that you need. I felt, I got a Ned rig rod. I got a rod that I use for wackies and flukes and everything else, a medium and a medium light. And then I took my jackhammer rod. I took my Texas rig spinnerbait rod, and then crankbait rod. And that's what I caught. Those 5 rods caught all my fish. Do some loose reels on them, and boom, was good to go. I mean, it's just the way it was. But, it's one of those things where it was the adventure itself. And again, meeting all the people, the venues, they sat around after registration, watched the first game of the football season on the NFL. And man, it was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. The whole adventure itself. I was talking to Bobby at some point in time throughout, having conversations about smallies and whatnot. He was giving me some schooling here and there. And just to kind of get me thinking of what to look for and, not knowing going in. But once I got in there and settled down, and just went fishing, once I found the pattern. And Jeremy will tell you, this is one of the things I've been locked in on this last month, trying to focus and do well, was lock in on a pattern and then maximize the shit out of it. And that's what I did. Make a game plan, stick with it. You always have to have A and B plans. I had to go to my plan B and plan C locations a few times because there were so many, of the heavy hitters in the same area I was. And you couldn't always fish where you wanted to fish. And then you have the walleye fishermen, the sauger fishermen. I guess there's some guy there fishing from sturgeon as well. And then we had this one ass in a boat that kept cutting everybody off. And I think a few different people dropped some videos about it. But just the number of hammers that was there, it was amazing. So I felt confident. I'm like, well, I know I'm in the right spot if all these dudes are here. Once I saw the day one results, and it's like, oh, snap. That's all the dudes that I've been fishing around all day. And then the fact that I was able to catch bigger quality fish a lot of the time. And they got me during the second day after the cold snap, because I didn't really, I knew I had to prepare for colder weather coming in and rain. Rain and rising water, muddy water, and then the cold snap. I figured a finesse jig and slow. And I did that like most of the day until the sun was well up and just couldn't get bit. A lot of dudes were throwing ploppers and everything else, and things changed. But again, that's experience in smallmouth. And, I was just trying to use my experience as a fisherman to kind of adjust and adapt. So I had periods of time where they just weren't biting, but in the bite window that I did have, boy, I maximized it. And one of the tips Alex gave me with smallmouth bass and big smallmouth bass, when you get a big smallmouth bass on the line and you get him, he said within near the boat, loosen your drag, because once they see your yak, they are gone. And he said, make sure your drag is loose so they can rip that line and not come unpinned, and don't horse them. The first one I tried to horse, come up out of the water and spit that chatterbait, and that was on practice day. And I said, I did exactly what he told me not to do. And it cost me a fish, but I didn't care, because it was like, oh my God, that was a big fish. But I put it all out, and I was just in focus mode, learning. First 2 days were all about learning, and then applying what I learned on day 3, and then adjusting on the fly on day 4. And I didn't get losing fish. Matt will tell you, I get pissed when I lose a fish, because a lot of times that's due to lack of focus, lack of concentration. And that's what cost me so many fish down at the national championship, just because I wasn't focused, because I was overtired. And I made sure that I did not get myself in that position this time. I rested way before I left, and I went to bed immediately. I put my batteries on charge and went to bed every night, and was as rested as I could be. And it was funny because, watching everybody else and listening to everybody else, they were losing fish too. So I was like, you know what? We can't play the woulda, coulda, shoulda game. Oh, if I'd have had this fish, I would have finished in third. Everybody lost fish. Everybody caught fish. You're going to catch what you're going to catch. But boy, was I focused, and I was patient. And when you guys see the videos, you're going to be like, and it's funny because I don't know how many banks I was fishing along. I was like, Bobby would say do this, and so-and-so would say do that, and it was funny because, that's kind of where I was I was replaying questions I had asked and things that I heard. And, I always want to give credit to where I picked something up or learned from, because again, smallies, they're tiny in the creeks down here. And so they just weren't a pursuit, but it seemed like I was so focused, so aware, so awake that, I had certain things that I had kind of restudied again from watching some Jeff Little videos, from watching a lot of Jeff Little videos, from watching some videos from guys that live up there. It was a little bit different fishing, and things like that too. But it was absolutely incredible. But enough of all the tournament talk. The people up there, absolutely fantastic. I mean, I ran into this lady at the ramp. She was down there gathering wood for some home decor projects and whatnot. She was like, yeah, be sure to watch out for our state bird. And I'm like, oh, really? The birds? She's like, yeah, the mosquitoes. They'll carry you away. But she was awesome. But then everybody I talked to, everybody from Wisconsin, Minnesota, Illinois, a lot of, those were the states that dominated that area. And I get why, because they're all, right there within each other, within distance, Yeah, so even the drive up there, about 6 hours, 6.5 hours, 6 hours, 45 minutes, easy drive. Listen to the radio. I would talk to Jeremy on the phone, whatever. And yeah, easy peasy. But that series itself is set up so cool. And I love the fact that he goes to these places that it would be on somebody like Chrenko or Alex Deneau's no list. But it's not always some place that tournaments go to, because it's not like the big name like, you know, St. Clair or whatever. So it was a unique experience, and it was a lot of the, you know, the guys would tell you too, these fish aren't pressured like they are in a lot of other places, because most of the anglers in boats and whatnot up there are, you know, fishing for walleye or a lot of the other bigger fish that are, you know, in the river system. So these smallies are absolute brutes. They are absolute brutes. And you know, it's kind of cool. But it was kind of fun putting my serious hat back on for a little bit and being focused and really doing all that. But you know, I've got certifications I got to study for at work, my final one, and I got videos to edit. So, you know, I'm not trying to go be whatever, but it was nice to have a sweet little run where, you know, top 5 just out of the money, but then cash and checks in the next 2 big derbs I fished in. It's kind of cool. It was sweet. I loved being able to get up on stage and represent Freedom Squad. Kind of wish they had left the picture bigger so everybody could have checked out the jersey a little more, so they understood kind of what we were about and whatnot. But still, it was cool being able to get up there and talk about what we, the squad, do, preaching and sharing our, you know, as Bobby likes to say, freedom, and Matt with the Freedom Birds, and giving a shout out to the Freedom Squad. And yeah, I mean, it was really a blessing where we could go up and represent veterans and patriots who appreciate and need the mental break from stress, from work, from life, you know, so forth and so on. I actually talked to all 3 of my sons on the way back, and I said, boys, I said, we have got to get back to the point where we 3 can get together and go find a campground and just chill for a night or 2 and light a stogie, you know, pop a top, and put our cares and worries in the world behind us, you know, maybe once or twice a year. And I'd like to do that with the Freedom Squad fam, and just do, you know, plan our get-togethers around something like this. Not a big, serious championship, someplace where we can all relax, have fun, and let the chips fall where they may in the tournaments without being under a lot of stress. And that's really what it was all about. So I think you guys would really love this. Like I said, I'm going to be at the Minnesota event next year, no matter what, and I invite all of you to join me. It's a fun time. It's a great adventure. I think everybody in Freedom Squad would love it. And like I said, I know for like Liz, you're better off booking a flight and landing, and then I'll bring you a kayak to fish out of than driving the whatever 1,800 miles across the country from the very south to the top of the north. I get it. That's not an easy thing to do. But then I would also, you know, like to go to Florida sometime and Texas sometime, and, you know, do Freedom Squad meetups in other places so that we could spread the love around and hang out and fellowship with each other. We're going to do that, of course, a bunch this year at the Knucklehead Kayak Fishing, you know, Hero Cup again. And yeah, like Liz said, 24-hour drive. So I get that. But I don't want to keep you guys bored too long. I just wanted to do a quick recap. I will focus on getting some video clips out because there's so much to share. I haven't even started looking at it yet. But yeah, I will probably put this video on the front burner, because not just because of how I did, but because of how I felt. Because I've still got some other tournaments, you know, and whatnot videos where, you know, had a good time. But this one overall is going to be the top priority, because I think you guys will enjoy the joy that I had while I was on the water, not thinking about work, not stressing, natural fishing, no electronics, having a good time. So I'll prioritize that one first, because like I said, I've got 6 or 7 other videos in the queue, and then I've got a lot of work to do to start up this new venture. And I'm going to want contributors out there, for all of those of you in kayaks, whether you catfish kayak, whether you're in a, you know, whatever brand. I want everybody to be able to do a video to help promote your channel on our new channel, but be a contributor, kind of like Wired to Fish, if that makes sense. And we're going to be like the kayak version of Wired to Fish, except it's going to be about kayak fishing, so that we can help people get into kayaks and kayak fishing and be safe. And, you know, I'll have Jeff, you know, Little do some videos on safety to help, people get started, and the whatever about PFDs, and, do things right. And we share this passion and love we have with everybody else. But that'll be the primary kayak, about kayak fishing stage, if that makes sense. And then Fishing with Gramps will be literally just me and Jeremy and whoever fishing, going on our adventures, doing our stuff and things. That makes sense. But wow, we're already well over 8 o'clock, way past. I wanted to be done with an hour. But you know me, once you get me yapping, having a good time, it was fun. Thank you all out there. Man, okay, before I end this, I got to give a shout out to the house, because there was a couple more folks that I completely left off. One is Dustin Hoy, and the other one is Brent or Brett. I want to make sure I get his name right. And they are from Ohio, with Raccoon Creek Outfitters. They're a couple hours east of Cincinnati, and they're a bona fide dealer, but they host all kinds of kayak. They support a lot of kayak fishing things. So if you're in Central Ohio or anywhere near, a couple hours east of Cincinnati, they're a paddle shop definitely worth looking into. And it was Dustin Hoy and Brent. I hate getting your name wrong because you were such a cool dude. Let me go back and look who all was in our group. No, he wasn't in here. What the hell? It was Dustin, Tim, Cole. Man, I feel like a dummy, because these guys were the coolest of cool dudes, especially the two from Raccoon Creek. But scrolling. I'm gonna make sure I get his name correct. Oh, yep. Anywho, two awesome dudes, Raccoon Creek Outfitters. It was actually awesome. So again, if you're in that area, check them out. If you're in the Midwest, Indiana area, be sure to hit up Mike in Zionsville, just northwest Indy side, at Moving Water Outfitters. He carries Old Town, Bonafide, New Canoe, Native, and Wilderness systems. All the kayaks that I recommend. If those weren't one of the ones I mentioned, it's not one of the ones I recommend, because I've got people experienced in various ones, and those are the ones I've had the most positive experiences with, and they're all made right here in the USA. So you got to love that. But again, get a hold of Mike, Moving Water Outfitters. Yes, I've already talked to Mike about the future XTR 130. I believe that's going to become my lake boat, and then the Power 129 will become my river kayak. And I'll just leave the NK 300 on it, and then I'll use the other one with the XI3 on it. And that way, if I have a disabled veteran I want to take out, I can put them in that boat. It's a bigger boat. It's safer. I can remote control it if they just want to fish, and I move them around. And we'll put it on that new Fish Texas kayak trailer that I'll be picking up this spring at the Bassmaster Classic. And if you want to know what I got coming next, just go look at Michael Iaconelli's kayak trailer, because that's what I'm having built, and that's what I'll be bringing home after the Classic. With all that said, thank you all for following along, supporting me this whole week. Everybody messaging me, texting me, calling me. It was absolutely fantastic. All the well wishes in the squad chat on Freedom Squad. You guys are awesome and keeping me going. And again, thanks, Bobby. Thanks, Chrenko. Thanks, Jeff Little, and all the others that I watch, Ryan Dahl, that I try to pick up and learn little tidbits from on the smallie side. And just being able to get out there and smash them was absolutely fantastic. And I hope you all can experience the absolute joy that I felt like that just one time in your life, because I've been fishing for a long time, and that was absolutely incredible. The only thing that could have made it better is if Jeremy and Matt was there with me, but I know they were living vicariously through me while I was up there, and I was glad to have their love and support along the way. And yeah, so as always, I don't know who the guest will be next week. We'll find somebody, or we'll just go live and do whatever. But again, as always, get outside when you can, make some memories, one cast at a time. Don't forget, American Legacy, Saturday. If you're in the area, come by, get a sticker.